Hey everyone, here today with Jacob Espinoza from What's Happening Salem, and I am extremely excited to have him on because if you're on Twitter, you already know why, because he's the master at Instagram for local. So, um, stoked to have you, Jacob. Thanks for being here.
No, thank you so much, man. I'm excited to chat, and I love that intro. I'll take that compliment for sure. So thank you.
Yeah, of course, you deserve it though. I mean, this is it's amazing what I think you're doing because you are doing what most are not. Um, and I think it is working extremely well for you. And I also think, again, I want you to tell us, but from my perspective, you and I have talked once or twice, but I remember what we talked about a while ago, and I've seen you and what you're doing, and I've talked to other people who've talked to you who have told me how much of an impact you've had on them. By the way, somebody told me that last
Love
week.
that.
Yeah.
Man, that's incredible.
So, and I also, by the way, that I appreciate you. And when we talked before about just having that like give first mentality, it seems like you have that. So that's killer.
I appreciate that. No, I think I
Yeah.
definitely try to live with the abundance mentality, and
hmm
the more people you can help, the easier it's going to be for you to individually hit your own goals for sure.
Totally. So, why don't so again the I'm sure I know you have your own local newsletter, but the reason you're here primarily because this is what I want to get as much info from you personally, and then hopefully people watching this get it too, is about what you're doing on Instagram because you're crushing it. You've recently seemingly started to talk a lot about it on Twitter. So first thing, people go follow him on Twitter. Real quick, is it just your name or
Mr. Jacob SB, yeah. So,
Mr. Jacob? Okay, we'll put it in the show
yep.
notes. Definitely start following him. But kind of, can you give us a quick overview of how this all started, and did you start with Instagram first or newsletter first, and the quick 1 or 2 minute version of how you got to where you are?
Yeah, it all kind of started at the same time. It was part of the vision, having the Instagram, the newsletter, and then the podcast kind of working together. I've been creating content for the majority of my life, different levels. I had a leadership newsletter and podcast called Leaders Lens for a while, with a team based out of Austin, Texas, Work Week. And I think while I was there, I realized like this media model works really well at a local level. And just local media, there's just this transition you're seeing where people aren't really subscribing to newsletters any longer. A lot of cities don't have a local TV station covering the news. And so you have generally people who are just uninformed about what's happening in their city. And I think it's why there's so much momentum around the local newsletters and hopefully soon also around local Instagram pages, because I do feel like you reach very different audiences with your newsletter that you potentially will with the Instagram. So it's just a way to expand your reach, and growth is so much easier on it. Like I have not spent a dollar growing my Instagram page other than a couple of times I'll like hire a videographer to film something, but usually it's just me with a cell phone. Um, so like growth on Instagram is so easy because there just aren't as many people doing it well right now.
Yeah. Now this is super interesting. Okay, so the first obvious angle here that I talk about a bunch is it's like multi-channel, right? You can't. I've said it enough times. You can't just be a local newsletter. You got to have multi-channel, and even if just at the base level, that's what advertisers are going to want to see, right? They want to see you can help them in multiple ways, not just one, especially not one they barely understand, right? Which is local newsletters. Um,
Yeah, I think that's one of the
yeah.
advantages of the Instagram page is most of these businesses are trying to grow their own Instagram channels, and so they see somebody that has reach and is has distribution to people in their city. You have built-in social proof because they can see the number of followers, but they can also see who's following. Because on Instagram, you pull up the page and you can see the people who you're connected with who are following this page. So it's another way to just give yourself and your organization credibility.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard this, it really resonated because I hadn't thought about it before. But that your newsletter success is private, right? There's nowhere to go look up. Oh, how successful is Leander Scoop? Like you can't know that. I mean, I could tell you, but without me showing you, I could even theoretically be lying, right? So it's a private number, but Instagram is a public number, and that is really big for people because there's so many people everybody knows in the world now. It's like, oh, I'm successful at this, I'm successful at this, and nobody believes it unless you can prove it, and Instagram automatically proves it, right?
Absolutely, especially when people are thinking of giving their advertising dollars to you.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, especially, it's just business is challenging. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are really, tightening up the budget and being strategic on how they can, maximize their dollars. So the social proof definitely helps.
Yeah, totally. So give us some quick background on your numbers or your data? Like, first of all, when did you start all this? Did you say?
So a year ago, a little
Okay.
over a year, last May, I
Okay.
started.
Okay. So 12 months
So
ago.
we're at, yep, over 10,000 subscribers on the newsletter.
Okay.
A lot of that through paid advertisers. And now we're doing more things on social to push people to subscribe to the newsletter. But we have over 35,000 subs on, or followers rather, on Instagram. And it's an engaged community as well. Like lots of people leaving comments, sharing the videos. So it's not just like a passive group that's, where I think sometimes you see big Instagram accounts, but they don't have a ton of engagement. So we've been fortunate to really be a hub of community conversation when we're posting about certain topics.
Well, I think that the reason for that is your content is engaging. So like people engage with it, right? Where I think a lot of these accounts, it's like, oh, you have a lot of followers. Well, who cares if your content is not good or not engaging? Then nobody cares or they're not going to engage, right? So it's
Yeah.
because of what you're doing, and that is why that is, right? And I know we're not doing what you're doing, right? And so we're not having a lot of success. Not surprising, right? And of course, the big obvious downside to what you do is just time and effort. But I think you'll probably tell us how to do it because I think the way you do it probably doesn't take a lot of time. At least some of the videos I've seen of yours don't take a lot of time. So, yeah, tell me about the journey here to going from zero to 35,000. Like maybe some. How did you start out doing Instagram? What did you see that works, didn't work, to the point where now you kind of probably have a much better feel for it.
Yeah, I think right now what you see from a lot of local news organizations is they'll have like an image and then they'll have a couple of sentences and then they'll have a quick link in the bio to find more information. And one, people don't want to click on links. They want the information to find them. They don't want to have to go search for it. So the advantage you have on Instagram is you can provide information with 0 clicks. Like it finds them, they have a summary of a specific topic or information about a new business that's opening or whatever it might be. But they're getting that information while they're on Instagram. They're not having to go to a bio, then click, and then if it's a newspaper, usually there's a paywall that's covering it, so they can't get the information anyways if they don't want to pay. So I think that's one of the keys is just giving the information right there, but also condensing it. So you're only given the information that's most crucial. Like you want your videos to be like 25 seconds long. Like think of how I can break this topic down into 25 seconds, cut out everything that isn't mission crucial. And as long as you have a good hook, which is the first 3 seconds, and somebody's interested in that topic, if they're there for the first 3 seconds, it's an engaging video. The chances of them, watching the video all the way through are much greater. And that's going to cue Instagram into sharing this content with other people.
Yep. Okay. So what kind of stuff? I actually remember one thing you told me, but I want to see if you bring it up here. Is there a difference between what people should do when they're at zero or very very little versus like what you're doing today? Because I think as usual, right? It's like if you take a billionaire's advice how to deal with money, like that's probably a bad idea for you. So, what is like the good advice for people who are just starting, and maybe how's that different from what you do today?
I think the advice is really try lots of different types of content. Generally, on a lot of Instagram pages, you see the same content over and over. And if you're a new account that isn't growing, that's probably part of the problem. Like you need to be doing different types of content because it's going to resonate differently with different audiences. And it's also going to help you figure out what works well. So my first thought when I launched the page, and this didn't work, but my idea was I'm going to interview people in Salem. We'll do like a quick 5 second or 5 question type of conversations in 30 seconds. And I posted a few of them, didn't really go anywhere. The first video I had that really took off and got me a lot of followers was a video I made in my house on a green screen where I'm pointing to a building that was being developed. And I go, hey, do you hear what this building is going to be? And then I kind of talk through how to get there. And then at the end, I announce, here's what the building is going to be. And I share a little bit about why that is significant. And every time I've done that type of video, it crushes. Like every single time without question, because people want to be the first to know. When they see a video, they want to share with their friends, like, hey, here's what that building is going to be. We were talking about it. Or, hey, did you hear about this? So those type of videos always do well. I think the challenge with Instagram is you have to balance entertainment with education. And so mixing in memes is great, but I think if you're only posting meme, then you kind of become a meme page and you limit your audience. there are definitely people that will follow a local meme page if it's done well, but you can expand your reach if you're mixing it in with different types of content.
Very interesting. Okay. So yeah, and by the way, I've seen I think it just makes sense too, the whole like talking about something new coming into town for the reasons you kind of said. We, again, haven't done it on Instagram, but I'm in a fast growing area, of course. So when Costco's coming in or Trader Joe's, anytime we have those in the newsletter or on the website, like those are the things that get talked about the most. Or I'll post about it in
100%.
a Facebook group and it'll pop off because everybody's interested in that. So I think, again, you're just saying we'll do the same thing and just do it on Instagram and talk about it there too.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
there are probably people on Instagram that aren't on Facebook, right? And
That's
vice versa.
Yes.
So,
That's a great
yeah.
point because again, that's where I get in my own head. It's like, well, I did post something about it. And it's like, we just have to remember, I think it's difficult when you're the creator, you're putting all this time and effort and thinking through everything. And, you just have to assume people are not paying attention to you because they're mostly not. Right. So you
And if
gotta,
your goal is
yeah.
to keep people informed, then it doesn't really matter like where you're getting the information from as long as
Mm-hmm.
it's a credible source. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to break the news. You just need to break the news on Instagram. And
Interesting.
so sometimes I'll even just scroll through Facebook and look through our local paper feeds and see if there are specific topics that are creating a lot of conversation. And when I see something that's just like, 10, 20x what a normal post would be, it's a cue for me to like, all right, I should do something about this. And I'm going to cite my sources. So I'm not just like stealing content, but I'm like, hey, they reported about this, and then add my own, perspective or just some extra context or whatever it might be to the video. But making an engaging video about this topic that I already know the city cares about is another just secret to success. And you don't
I
have to
love it.
overthink it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I love it because this is the whole thesis of what we're doing in general. But like in my case, I have a big call it competitor who's very very large in Texas, and I'm sure most places, most people watch this will have like a smaller version of that in their area, which is like the traditional style media. They don't have people going on Instagram talking about the stories they're making. Like,
100%.
so to your point, like, okay, maybe they own, they get all the press releases first because they've been around 20 years and they get all these things. Well, they're not doing anything on Instagram. So I could easily just own that side of the breaking aspect or introducing people to this stuff because nobody's paying, not that many people pay attention to what they're doing. So that's
Exactly.
actually such a good way of thinking about it. It's like owning the information on a specific channel doesn't mean you had to like get it originally. I love that.
And what will happen is people that are doing this, because there's probably lots of cities that have this exact same problem where they have like their local newspaper just doesn't pay attention to Instagram because it's not part of their business model, right? They don't know
Yeah,
how to
totally.
monetize it. It's just not built into how they do business.
That's right.
So you have the opportunity to build this audience, to build momentum. Eventually they'll notice and be like, oh man, we should start doing something on Instagram. But at that point, it's too late. And it's just going to be like an extra task for a reporter. But they'll start doing something which is I think is a good thing because it's going to help more people be educated on what's happening in the community. But they won't be able to do it like you did, and they're not going to have the momentum that you have, or
That's right.
also just the skill set involved.
That's
Because
right.
while you're building this page, you also are developing this skill set where you start understanding how to make content that is engaging, which is another skill you can offer when you are making deals with potential sponsors.
Yes, I totally, totally. And I also think, like with so many things about what people are watching this, guys like us are doing versus the traditional way, is we own what we're doing, right? And so we have a vested interest in it. Where even if your local paper told somebody to do it, like it's just not going to be the same as when you own it and you care and you're there for them. Where those people want to just turn it off at 5 p.m. and they don't really care. And I feel like that. Maybe they do okay for a little bit, but that's not going to work long term the way it does for people like us.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Like if it's a
Yeah.
job, it's much different than it's your thing that you're building.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the meme thing because I have, first of all, I don't know if we've talked about this, but, or if but I started putting memes in my newsletters at the bottom. They're not even local. They're just random funny crap because it's engaging, right? People like memes.
Yep.
Now, you had even posted recently about like specifically local memes to your area. Now, I had this idea, when I first started. And of course, as usual, it's just like, man, that just sounds freaking hard. So yeah, it's a great idea. Too hard, not going to do it. I'm not funny enough. I don't know how to do it. And so it sounds like you're still able to do it again, whether it's newsletter or Instagram. But tell me a little bit more about the meme side and like how you actually do this if for somebody like me who's not very funny.
Yeah, I think what all you're doing with memes is you're saying the things that aren't being said in your community. So you'll notice like people like go crazy over this restaurant. And so maybe you'll figure out, okay, what's a meme template that works well for this? And it just is a different way to communicate an idea. And if you look at it that way and not trying to like make the funniest meme, but just like be authentic, it can be, I think anybody can learn, but you're right. It is definitely a learned skill, but there are also so many tools out there, so many different meme pages that you can just look at, and you see a meme template, just go crazy. You can figure out, okay, how do I make this make sense for my community or my city? What's something about my city that makes that makes people feel this specific way? And I think there are definitely templates that would probably do well just like in any city. But it is just a matter of one, being aware of what is a current hot topic in your community, and then finding the right template that displays this emotion that people are experiencing when they think about this specific topic.
Yeah. I think what you're basically describing is not a bit of research, but also just focus. Like set some time aside. Like, okay, let me really go through, write down what are some ideas for memes, then go search for them. I think my problem is it's just, if you think you're going to figure it out in 3 minutes of scanning the web to like get an idea, it's probably not going to work. And then you're going to, like
Yeah.
me, just move on to something else. You probably need to focus and do some research and think about it. And then also just combining some things we've already talked about, right? Okay, like say Mike, Costco's coming to town. Well, now you're taking the news and then you can combine that into a meme, right? Everybody loves
Yeah.
Costco, or everybody hates Costco, or Costco's too busy, or random things like this that you can probably put together, right?
Yeah. So like another example of that is like whenever something closes, you can find like
Mm.
a sad template on CapCut where it's like
Okay.
there's one that I have where it's Luke Skywalker, like he's like yelling no
Yeah.
when a restaurant closed. There's another one of, I can't remember, the Inside Out. There's like this sad character
Mm-hmm.
where they're like moping across, and so I did that when a different restaurant closed. And so there's things like that you can do where it's pretty simple. I think the CapCut templates are like the lowest hanging fruit because they're just fun to watch in general. And if you give it a local angle, they generally like you can find some success pretty easily, especially if it's just kind of like mixed in with actual information that you're giving your audience. But I think it's starting with what you think will be most fun and you're most comfortable with. Like if creating memes is something that for you is like, it's kind of overwhelming. I don't really want to focus on that. Then maybe not right now. Maybe you don't start your page there. You do some of the other types of content first. But then when you do feel inspired, then like, all right, let me kind of throw this one out there and see how it does.
Totally. When you say memes, because you just mentioned, and I'm sure that all of these are true, but are you talking about video versions too, not just like a static image with the which button are you going to push type of ones? You're talking about
Yeah,
videos as well?
I think try it all for sure. I
But I
think
mean,
like
how do
the
you do the
static,
video ones? I don't even think I know how to do that.
it's on CapCut actually.
Oh,
So
on
if you have,
CapCut. Okay.
there might be some that are like only pro, like you have to subscribe. There might be some that are for free. I'm actually not sure. I
Hmm.
subscribe because I just use CapCut like every day, multiple times. But they have a bunch of templates. And then as you're scrolling other accounts, you can kind of find templates that are doing well and just think, okay, how do I make this work for my own page? And if you're on
Okay.
TikTok, it'll show you the template. You can just click on a button and it'll pull up the template so you can edit it and make it your own.
Okay. Nice. Hey, I have a selfish quick question. I don't know if actually it'd probably be interesting for people if they're going to do what you're doing. So actually, maybe just explain it. So for anybody who hasn't seen what you do, the simple version is you're just doing the green screen where you're in the bottom left of the screen, and then you're essentially sharing your screen as the main part of the image, and then you're just talking about it. So they see your face, but the primary thing is the image, I assume, of your screen. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a few different pillars that I found really work well. There's one is the memes, local memes do well. There's the green screen announcement where it's like, hey, do you hear what this building is going to be? Here's how you get there. Here's what, and then you just kind of do the announcement at the end and give some context. There's B-roll with a voiceover, so I'll go to a place and I'll just get quick shots and I just condense all of the videos into like 25 1 to 1.5 second clips, and I just talk about this restaurant. Sometimes it's a new place, sometimes it's an old place. I think another reason why Instagram pages are great is because local news will cover a restaurant twice, when they open and then when they close. And so you have a chance to come in and like, hey, this is a cool spot that's been open for a while. Maybe you haven't heard of it, and kind of give them some recognition. That's another pillar that does really well. And then I also tie in local news. So like recaps of a city council meeting, or I'll take a clip of a city council meeting and post it online, something that I know will create conversations important for the community to hear. Um, and then just like weekly to-dos is another like simple low-hanging fruit, especially for people that are already doing newsletters, because you're already curating the list. And now it's just a matter of like, let me put a simple like carousel together, or for those that aren't familiar, a carousel is just like 7 images that people can kind of slide through, um, or a reel so there's some low-hanging fruit there as well. Something I'm exploring now is more like actually broadcast style, where I'm actually like reporting on a specific news event. And I did one yesterday, and I saw just a lot of new followers come through, which is a cue for me that there is room for this
What
type of
can you
content.
explain? I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, so we had the specific example, we had a fire on one of our train tracks. And so a bunch of people sent me videos of the fire, so I got their permission to use it. And so I'm just showing this like clips of the fire, and then reporting on the incident, just like you might see a news reporter on TV. But it's just like in 25 seconds, I'm just like reading the news essentially, as a voiceover to the videos that you're
Okay, so
watching about
you're
this
not going
incident.
there. You're still doing it from home.
Correct. Yeah.
You're just
This is
showing
still
the
happening
videos
from
of the
home.
news thing. Okay, okay.
Yep, yeah. So I'm not going there with a mic and
Hmm.
like a camera crew. I'm just people sent it to me, and I put the video together. I had a chat GPT prompt that kind of just like put the script together even, and I made some changes, but I just kind of found a press release that the fire department put out, and then used that to create this 20-second voiceover.
Nice. Yeah, no, that sounds really smart for something that, big like, that, especially if it's, well, not a good thing like a fire, but
Yeah.
just real quick, because I want to make sure I understand. Is this something I know what CapCut is? I think I've looked at it once. I haven't really used it. Is the whole like like delete everything behind you so that it like perfectly follows your head and your shoulders? Is that just a quick button setting in CapCut?
It
Like, how do you
yeah,
do
it
that?
literally is you go to camera, then you go to effects, and you go to green screen, and it automatically will do it. Like you don't need any
Okay.
special equipment
Okay.
or anything like that. It really is that simple. And then you record yourself talking with a specific image, and then you stop recording, then you pick the next one for the next screen, and then you record again. You can like move your head around. There's just lots of ways to make it engaging. I've seen some accounts that will just like have them in the corner and like have the same image. And I think that if you want to like keep a larger percentage of the audience, there definitely are advantages of like keeping things moving to keep people engaged and watching.
Okay.
But
Um,
it's extremely simple. Like you
it's
can
not
learn
very
it
hard.
in a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Is it not possible to do it like live, like just talk into my mic and share my screen and have me in the corner and be scrolling and changing tabs or something? Is that possible?
I'm
Or
sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's like yeah, I'm
but
sure there's a tool that will do that as
but
well.
that's not what you do though. You kind
That's
of
just yeah, that's just not what I do.
okay.
Yeah, I think that would potentially take longer. I'm pretty much gonna look for the quickest way to do
Well, that's what I
anything. So
want
like,
too. Is the
yeah, yeah.
quickest. Yeah.
To me, this seems like it's simpler, but there might be a way to do that that would
Okay.
be even more engaging. But
Okay.
yeah, for me, this is what's worked the best.
Cool. Okay, let's get into the really exciting or potentially interesting part of this, which comes down to advertising, right? Again, you want to be multi-channel. That's what advertisers like. Um, how has this helped or changed how you sell? And what is your experience selling? Like, what do people get excited about, not excited about? Like, everybody wants to learn about how to monetize this better, and it sounds like you're doing it as good as anybody else. So, give us some tips on all this and how it relates to Instagram.
Yeah, I think especially when you're just getting started, it is as simple as having conversations with people that are interested, and then asking them like, what makes this an easy yes for you? What's important? Because when you're just getting started, you're not monetizing. Like you can offer a lot, right? I think sometimes people run into the roadblock of like, let me bring the price down. I challenge people to look the other way. Like bring the value up. Like what are some things you can offer that are going to provide unique value to this person you're trying to work with? And I think sometimes that can depend on your skill set, right? Like if you're good at these other things, maybe there's a way to incorporate your skills and talents into this offer you're putting together for people. So a skill I've developed is making engaging content. So when I'm working with a potential sponsor, part of the value I'm offering is I'm going to create a video that I know is going to work well for the audience and help expand the reach of what you're trying to promote. Um, and having the Instagram page has been the number one source of lead gen for me because it'll pop up in people's reels. They know that people from Salem are following it. They want access to the distribution that we have built through the channel. And then I partner the offer with the newsletter, which definitely has value. And I know a lot of people are doing well on newsletter alone. But for us personally, the Instagram has definitely been the driver of revenue.
Okay. So essentially is what you're saying, the the business owners, they're more excited to work with you to be on the Instagram than to be in the newsletter essentially.
Yeah, for
Newsletter
sure.
secondary essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so I mean I think that's a key point for everybody to take in. Now that doesn't mean, some people are absolutely crushing it with newsletter ads as well
Exactly.
because I think we in the business see the value more there, but that if that's not how the business owner sees it, it doesn't matter what you think. They're the ones with the money. So you kind of have to win them over, right?
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, with emails are great because you own the email list. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's not one or the other to me. It's figure out how to do
Mm-hmm.
both.
Mm-hmm. So to clarify on how you literally do ads, let's say on Instagram, is it as simple as like you just make a 30-60 second video just like any other story, except it's going to be specifically, hey, this is Joe's auto body shop, he told me blah, blah, this hail hit and here's what he did to crush it, you should totally check out his body shop, like is it something like that, or is there how yeah, tell me how you do it.
Yeah, it's a little bit different for each sponsor. For some of them, we have a package deal where it's like a certain amount of videos, certain amount of newsletter ads, and we create the content. Something I've been experimenting with now that's been working is I have a What's Happening Salem Business Collective, and so it's a group of businesses that are highlighted in one video each month, and they also have a newsletter spot each month as well. They get a discounted rate because they're committed for a certain amount of time, but it allows me to focus on creating the content where I'm not out trying to find sponsors. I can focus more on the incoming leads. I don't do as much outbound anymore, which has been really nice. Um, but in the videos, I'm really trying to position them as professionals in their industry. So we're thinking of like, how do I take their business and create some sort of content that works similar to like how a TV series would work? So I have a real estate agent that I'm working with now, and every month we post a highlight of a different neighborhood in Salem that people might be interested in moving to. And there's lots of conversation happens in the comments. Her name gets put out and shared a ton because she's the one that's actually the face of the video. Um, so I'm really trying to take that sort of an approach and like treating it almost like a TV show of like, how do we highlight this person in a way though that it doesn't feel like an ad, but it's engaging content that people will want to share and learn from.
I love that as a concept there. When you say, like, let's say this example of the realtor in a neighborhood, again, how is are you going out and like filming her in the neighborhood? Is she just doing that and sending you the video? Like, how does that actually work in practice?
For this specific example, we're doing green screen. So it's
Okay.
I go to her house, I have the images already ready to go. And she'll send me a few bullet points ahead of time so I kind of know what we're highlighting so I can kind of create um, the green screen around that. So we take about we actually filmed recently yesterday. I think it took us like 30 minutes to film. It took me like 15 minutes to edit. And we got two out of that. So I have one for this month. We'll post one beginning of July on a different neighborhood. But it was just like thinking that way of how do I highlight people. So another brand I have a deal with is a local tennis and swim club, and so I actually highlight myself like playing pickleball or taking lessons, where it is kind of a fun video to watch. It's not a hey, save this much money if you visit there, and maybe there's a place for that also. But as far as like organic content, we try to focus much more on telling an entertaining story that highlights the strengths of this business, where people are aware of why they should do business with them.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I also feel like what makes that so cool, not only because it's engaging and so people are more likely to watch it, but also that's not something they can get anywhere else, right? If they just want to do their own meta ads, they can't really do that in a way. There's if they put it in the local paper and there's no real way to do that. So well, at least not reasonably priced. I guess they could buy commercials or something in town,
Yeah.
but then
But it
that
is that it's
costs
that
way
it's
more.
that
Yeah,
same type of concept, right? Where it
yeah.
is instead of paying like X amount of thousands of dollars to have a TV commercial filmed and then like I'm not sure who still watches TV, right? But
Yeah.
there are people still watching it, but it's just a different audience you can get a hold of because there are people that are watching Instagram that aren't probably tuning in to a regular television show.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Plus, TV, once they air it, like that's it, right? Where Instagram, it's going to live there, right? And they can share it in the
Yeah.
future. You can share it. Yeah. There's so much value there. Um, okay. So, give me some more, any other Instagram specific tips or concepts. I know, well, we'll talk about it a little bit later that you want to start helping more people do this. But what haven't I asked you specifically about Instagram? Do you think is good information for people to have?
Yeah, I mean, one, I'm launching a how to do this where I literally walk you through. There's tutorials, walkthroughs. I'm available to like give feedback on videos and just answer any questions you might have, via text message. Also, if you need to jump on a call, like, have a link, you can schedule a call and we can kind of talk through things. I want this to really be an easy button for people that are interested in doing this, but just need a little bit of guidance. I want to save time, in avoiding a lot of the mistakes I had to make along the way. I think another important piece, though, is really defining your mission and being consistent in talking about it. So, like for me, with what's happening in Salem, if I'm like talking about this or I'm on the Instagram channel itself, I talk a lot about how I want to highlight the positive things that are happening in Salem because the things that are recognized are repeated. And so there is this sort of rally of like, he really is like supporting us. He's, nobody's mentioned our business in a long time. He came through and made a video, and like people stopped by because they saw his video. Um, a very small percentage of what I do is paid, especially if I'm working with restaurants, because I know right now just like having a restaurant is challenging. Sometimes they'll reach out and like, hey, we'd love for you to come. We'll give you a free meal, and like every now and then that happens. But for the majority, it's me just showing up and like letting people know about something I think is cool in the city or something that somebody else has pointed out. You should recognize this. So I think it's important to live your values, talk about your mission often, and don't be afraid of doing free promotions. I don't think just because you're doing something for free, somebody isn't gonna pay for you to promote. My experience has been the exact opposite. We did an event recently, and I was almost overwhelmed by the amount of people that showed up and wanted to sponsor the event. We were able to make it free for people to attend, which was awesome. And it was an award show, so we were able to recognize people in our city that are community builders and connecting, which is another way for us to reinforce the mission. But because we had done so much of this work and people understood what we're about and they believed it because they see us living it, people are a lot more likely to support that. It's just like Simon Sinek's famous talk, like start with the why.
Well, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I love it. I mean, obviously, you're totally right about just feature everybody that you can. I personally think a lot of what the way I think about it sometimes is like you said, the businesses people want to see the most are the ones that are least able to afford it, basically restaurants.
Yeah.
So treat those by doing those ones for free, and then obviously charging the dentist and the insurance guy, just kind of flip the model, which I want to get into in a second. I want to ask you about this giveaway idea, but before that, sorry, I want to learn a little bit more about this event. What do you mean? You put on an event like an award show?
Yeah, we did an award show. It
Really?
was
Like the best
awesome.
of kind of thing?
It kind of we took a little bit of a different approach, and so we had a committee and we highlighted community builders. And there's a lot of organizations that kind of highlight the legacy people. We wanted to highlight the people that are just getting started to encourage them, put some wind behind their sails. And we tried to make it as entertaining as possible. So we set it up like a late night talk show. So we had a couple stand up comedians came and did short sets. We had a house band, which was super cool. We did like the minute to win it type of games in between to kind of break things up. And we had a sponsor that gave away like $500 to each person. So it was kind of exciting to be selected and then a chance to win. So they were just like, just different silly games. Um,
Dude, this sounds
but
way
everybody
bigger
that
than I would have thought. Holy crap. That
it was,
sounds crazy.
and we had Chick-fil-A show up early, and like we threw out chicken sandwiches at the beginning, and people were like, that was the thing people probably talked about the most was like the free chicken sandwiches that we were just like throwing out into the
Literally
crowd. It was
throwing?
like
Like,
literally throwing into
okay.
the crowd, like up into the rafters. People were like, hey, so we like threw them up there as well.
Dude, what?
Um,
I hope you
it
made a
was
lot of content about this. I need to learn more specifically about this. This sounds
we,
crazy.
we we didn't make as much content as we probably should have, but we do have a lot of content. We posted a couple of reels about it. But everybody that came was like, "We're coming back. This is such a different type of event than what we've seen in our city previously." And so it was cool, but it happened like it was able to happen because a lot of the affinity we had built and the goodwill we had built with our local business community and just doing things, highlighting the positive things happening in Salem, because our city just has like a self-perception issue. Like anytime anything bad happens, it's just like, our city's the worst. See, and it's like, no, like bad things happen everywhere. It's unfortunate when they happen here as well, but like let's not let that prevent us from seeing a lot of the good things that are happening also.
Man, can you please do like a write up on this and on Twitter or something? I definitely need to learn more about this and share this because let's remember from what he said at the beginning, you only been doing this a year.
Yeah.
Like this isn't you don't have 5 years of brand affinity, right? 1 year. Like I also would say that probably goes to show the power of Instagram. Here's another point, right? Most people are doing newsletters once a week, maybe twice, kind of like me. I mean, are you posting? I assume basically every day.
I mean, yeah, multiple. So we've done.
Mo-
Let me just pull up the stats
yeah,
really quick of
tell me.
how many posts I've done the last year. But yeah, 628 posts in the last year. So like twice a day
Twice
about.
a day. Okay, so you're in front of people potentially doing 10 things a week, or I guess 14, and most of us are doing one a week, maybe twice. So you're doing 7x. You're in front of people 7 to whatever 14x as much as everybody else, and that allows you to get that brand affinity so much quicker. Plus, I think adding the human element, that personal touch. Now we talk about in the newsletter, try to write more from a personal point of view. Do things
Yeah,
that and that helps. But your way is just the ultimate way. They see you, they can hear you speaking, right?
yeah, 100%. I think that like video, putting your face on video and talking to somebody just like you talk to a friend is a huge
Mm-hmm.
competitive advantage in building relationships and allowing community to form. Two compliments I get a lot is when I see your content, I feel like it's just like a friend talking to me. And then people also comment on like how I interact with trolls in the comments because I'm kind of like having fun with them a little bit. I'm not taking them too serious, but I'm still like not letting them get us across the mission of like Salem is a good place. Like there's lots of good things happening here, even though you're really mad about this thing. And I'm not saying you're not wrong to be mad. This thing shouldn't define our community. So people do appreciate the fact that I like am pretty resilient in just having the communities back.
And I feel and that makes you more human and relatable, right? This isn't somebody who
Exactly.
just makes video and then ignores whenever somebody says stuff. So, man,
Totally.
that's really cool. This is so impressive. I still can't get over this event. We're like scared to host like a tiny little event, and you're doing a huge thing.
Do it,
Um,
man.
yeah, I know. We need to do something. But okay, I want to talk real quick about this, and I don't know if you've done this, or I just want to get your thoughts as somebody who's already, it sounds like, dealing a lot more with local restaurants and even just the business community in general. Like I said before, I'm pondering a lot about this. Of the restaurants are what people want to hear about and deal with the most because that's like the fun business, but they have no money. Have you done much or thought much about leveraging giveaways in some capacity to help build your brand? I know a lot of people have talked about it, that Instagram is a better place to do that versus like in the newsletter. So what's your experience with the concept of giveaways?
I avoid them like the plague.
Really? Okay, so why is
Yeah,
that?
like for me, I my concern is that people who follow for giveaways are only following for giveaways. And I don't know if I want that kind of person following me, right? If you're only here
Mm.
because you think you're going to win a free hamburger or whatever, like maybe you're not here. You're not going to be somebody that's actually like participating in what we're doing. I really focus on like, let me just make better content.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say there's not a place for giveaways, and I've actually have been recently like thinking through maybe I should never do them. Maybe there's like a right way to do them that would
Mm-hmm.
be interesting and good for the community. Um, but so far, I really have just
Hmm.
avoided them entirely. I've even had people reach out like with sponsorships. I want to do giveaways, and I let them
That's
know
what.
like that's not really what like this page is. Not
Mm-hmm.
to say it's the right answer. That's just like
Mm-hmm.
where I'm
Yeah.
at with it right now.
Interesting. Okay. Because yeah, I have not been propositioned for that really at all, which I was kind of a little surprised because Jeff, who I just interviewed in Canada, said he's getting a lot of people, coming to him saying, "Hey, can you give this away?" Now it may be because he's been doing it a little bit, and then
Yeah,
once they see him do it a couple times, now all the businesses want to do it. So,
no, for
um,
sure.
there's multiple angles there, but we just to because our Instagram, we mostly we sometimes film restaurants and stuff, but don't I don't think they're that good. Um, but we did do one giveaway because the new Culver's was opening, and I talked to the guy, and he wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we didn't even do a good job with it. I don't think even the image we made was ugly, and it still got 20x the engagement of anything else we done, right? So
Yeah.
again, It's hard to say. I don't have any proof yet of the positive, and the negative. I see your point, and I've had other people kind of say that too. Of like, is that going to bring the wrong crowd? And there's probably truth to that for sure,
Yeah,
right? It's
I think
kind
that's
of
actually
what's
where
the trade off, right?
the Chick-fil-A sandwiches, that's actually where that came from at the event, is they like were like interested in doing a giveaway, and I was like, well, we don't really do it on the Instagram, but we have this event coming up, and so we ended up like doing it
Okay.
that way, and then we gave them a shout out. It was like a cool moment in
Hmm.
the event, so we highlighted that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah,
All right. So just as we kind of wind up, tell me a little bit more about how did you learn about this model? Because I know you I think it was a course that you took, and then maybe kind of talk about how that's going to lead to how you're going to teach people. Because I feel like I don't even know what you're charging for this, and I'm already going to do it. So I kind of want to learn how you learned
yeah,
about
yeah,
this, and
yeah.
how your plan is to kind of, obviously you're going to take some pieces and not others, but
Yeah.
anything more you could talk about the background of this.
Totally. So I've been making content for a long time. Traditionally, it was leadership development that I really focused on. I have a friend, Colin Landforce, who started making golf content, and we both we both wrote on Twitter for a while, and he decided to just like go all in on short form video. I started making leadership content and did well on TikTok. I got like 20,000 followers over there, but never really quite caught on Instagram. Um, but I think through that process of just making this content so consistently, you kind of learn like, all right, what works, and like the growth has just been so much easier focused on this local niche than anything else I could imagine. I do feel like people who are in a space where they're creating content, they feel like they're good at it. It's easy for them, but they haven't quite found their hold on a certain market. Probably the local stuff would just do so well for them because you have this topic that people are already interested in. There's not generally a good outlet for them to learn things from on Instagram. Um, so I went through the Cut 30 course because Colin
Cut
left
30.
it, and
Yeah.
I mostly did it honestly to support my friend. But like I was really impressed by like how engaged they were. They were just like all over giving people feedback in their videos. So it's Colin, Orangeon, and then Alex Garcia, who run it together. And all of them like have significant followings at this point. But like when we were going through it, they were not as big as they are now. But it's just an incredible way to build trust and establish yourself as an expert in any industry. I think short form video right now is still by far the best way to grow organically. Um, but so for people who are already invested in their community, know what's going on, it's just really low hanging fruit and just expanding your influence and impact.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I think you kind of just said similar to how I think about this all the time is trying to grow in almost any niche is very, very difficult. And yet this one, it's actually relatively super easy. And the reason is people care about where they live so much, yet there's in most cases nobody really doing it. Right. So
Yes,
people
exactly.
care and there's no competition. It's like a great industry to get in, right? Which is
For
where you
sure.
live and you're already there.
Yeah.
So
Because you might be
yeah.
looking at your city and be, all right, there's already somebody in my city that's doing a really good job. But if your city's a million people, you can probably segment it down to a population of like 250 people in a certain side of the city, focus there. There probably isn't the same competition. So for me, like I started doing What's Happening in Salem, and a lot of people were like, well, you should do What's Happening in Oregon. But it's not going to work at the same level because there are people that are doing news on Instagram very well about Oregon in general, but nobody was focused on my community. And my city is 180,000 people, so it's not a huge community by any means. If you look at like the area surrounding it, it's a little bit bigger, but like it's not a huge population. But because of that, like we've just been ignored. We don't have a TV station. We have local newspapers that do a great job, but they just don't have the social media focus. So I was able to help a little bit in filling that gap.
Yeah, totally. You are in the right type of spot for that. But really, anybody, I think, to your point, I think if you're in a really big city, this would be obviously a lot more difficult. If you're in LA or Chicago, like that's going to be difficult. But assuming you're in a smaller place than that, I think this works.
And I
Um,
do think that even
yeah,
in LA, Chicago, like if you can find a
you,
specific part of LA
you
and
just have
Chicago
to,
to
yeah,
focus on,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You can't just be too broad, unless you have massive skills and whatever, and then you don't probably not watch this. Um,
yeah,
yeah, you probably already succeeding. But okay, last question because I think there's a lot of potential here with what you're doing in so many ways. Do you get, have you thought about ways to monetize what you're doing outside of directly, right? So, directly meaning selling ads, whether it's for Instagram or whether it's for the newsletter. Have you thought about, or does it come up? Do business owners ask you to help them? Again, I keep coming back to the digital marketing side of this, right? Like, oh, you're so good at this, and you're already talking to them. Is there an angle there? Do you do that? Have you thought about it, or any other like secondary business you can do now that you have all these business owners who know, like, and trust you?
Yeah, what I think is going to work, and I have a couple of clients I'm working with in this capacity right now, is finding content creators to be the face of specific businesses, because people don't really want to follow a brand. Like they want to like have a person they build a relationship with. So we have a deal with the county fair where I found a content creator that is just super talented. Her name is Bree. She does a lot of like traveling around Oregon type of content. Um, but it's always like family and like things for moms to do with kids also. And so she's making content for the county fair's Instagram page. We have deals where it's going to go on her page, but also we get shared on what's happening in Salem as well, so we can kind of benefit from the reach there. But that I think is the next probably business I'm building, is this agency where we're actually like finding creators. I'm personally working with them and developing them. And they be the face of the brand, which is going to be a competitive advantage. I think this is how all brands will do social media in the near future. So I'm just kind of trying to get ahead of it and do it on a local level while it's still fresh and new. And the idea will kind of help businesses in standing out from their competition.
Man, I love that idea again as a possible customer, right? Because how many people out there are like me where it's like, yeah, I like doing the business side. Maybe I like writing, but I don't want to be out and
Yeah.
about. I don't want to have to focus on, I don't want my face. I mean, I have so many people tell me, I don't want to be on camera. And so you can have somebody like this do that for you, right? Dude, that's a great idea.
I think though I would challenge you on that. I feel like when you're the person that's doing the local media, part of the competitive advantage is you're the face. Like you're the person they want to connect with because you're the person they see. They feel like they already kind of know you a little bit. And I think it's harder to leverage that if you actually are hiring talent and somebody else is doing it. So that's just like another data point I would add as you
Yeah,
kind of
I mean,
figure
I
out how
think
to
that's
look at it.
100% true, but I think there's, and I probably could just force myself to do it, but I do think there are people out there who are just like, I'm not doing that, right? So it's
Yeah.
like either have somebody do it for you or nothing. It's probably better to have somebody do it for you,
Yeah.
even though you won't get the same value as somebody like us, who, when you're the actual face of the entire brand and you're
Totally.
the owner of the brand for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Awesome, man. Jacob, this has been really great. So remind everybody where your Twitter, and tell us about the course. I think it's not live yet, right? So what's the plan?
The course is live, jacobespinoza.com. We are literally building it as we go right now. It's like people
Oh,
have
okay.
questions, you need help with something. Like the walkthroughs, I'm making all the videos. That's taken care of. But we're still in a place where like if you come to it, you don't have something that you're seeing that you need, like let me know and we'll make it for you, because we really want this to be the easy button where you see this and it's just like, all right, I can take these simple steps to make this happen, because it really is easy. I mean, an hour a day is plenty of time to build something like this with a significant following.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So it was just your name.com?
Jacobespinoza.com. Yep.
Okay.
And then
Yep.
on
Okay.
Twitter, Mr. Jacob Espy.
Yeah, Mr. Unfortunately, Twitter search is terrible. If you type in Jacob, like, you won't show up, which is irritating.
It used to be
Um,
good. There was a
I know
time where it
what
was
happened.
good.
It
I
used
don't,
to be
I mean, yeah.
so frustrating. Cool. Well, this has been great, Jacob. Really appreciate it. And everybody reach out to him. Definitely at worst, you need to start following him on Twitter and then check out everything he's doing. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yep. See ya.